Hey everybody, this is Stitch1993 back here again with another top 10. I'm going to try to do these a lot more often this year, because I enjoy doing them and I see you guys enjoy watching them. So if you are wanting to watch more of these, make sure to like and subscribe for future top 10 and just list videos in general. And today we're going to talk about one of my childhood favorite shows, VeggieTales. Yes, sir. Created in 1993, the year I was born. If you were growing up in the 90s or 2000s, you probably at least once in your lifetime saw one of these VHSs or later DVDs. So we're going to go over my top 10 favorite VeggieTales episodes. Now, a few rules I'm going to put in place here. I'm not going to include the Larry Boy videos. If they were included, they'd just be at the top of my list because I love Larry Boy. So these are just only the actual VeggieTales episodes. I feel Larry Boy eventually was considered like its own thing, and I might include those for like a later Larry Boy video. These are also not going to be based off of the silly song. Like, this is not going to be the top 10 silly songs. That's going to be another list for a future video. These are going to be the top VeggieTales episodes I enjoyed growing up watching. Now, for those of you that may be born later or just never heard or never, got interested in VeggieTales, the basic idea or plot for these, it was a CGI animated show, one of the first CGI animated shows, mind you, that ran for 30 minutes between 1993 and the main series lasted until 2015. There were spin-offs, so I'm only including those, the 51 episodes in that main series there. And it was vegetables and sometimes fruit that would do Bible verses or just kind of stories that had some biblical content to them there, and would teach a lesson, some sort of moral lesson. And at the end, you always have a verse to tie up and wrap up the entire show. And it was more times, often than not, hosted by Larry the Cucumber and Bob the Tomato. So, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into number 10, Josh and the Big Wall. Now, Josh and the Big Wall released in 1997 and was based on Joshua and the Wall of Jericho, but of course it gives its own G-rated twist on it, and it's one of the VHSs, or one of the stories where the whole story was the one video. Sometimes they would cut it up and there'd be two individual stories. This is one of the ones that was just one story. Number 9. Madame Blueberry. This was one released in 1998, and I remember this one being like a big one in my group of kids growing up. Like, when this one came out, like, everybody was talking about, oh, you've got to watch Madame Blueberry. I eventually watched it, and it was okay. I enjoyed it. The one of the main plot is about a blueberry. This is, of course, the first introduction of Blueberry, not a vegetable, who is not content or doesn't feel content in her life and thinks that her life will get better with this new superstore, which you could, say is Target, Walmart, insert your big superstore here. At the time, I guess you could even include Kmart or Sears. Nowadays, you could say it'd be like Amazon or eBay or whatever. So she keeps buying stuff, and she still doesn't feel good about herself and about her life. Eventually, she learns that it's not about the things you have. It's, how you enjoy what you do have, is being thankful, being content. This had another big thing for this episode was the introduction of the song I Thank God for This Day, which would eventually become like the theme song for Big Idea Productions. So soon after this video came out, anytime you bought any of the other Big Idea VHSs or a re-release of the older ones, they would always include a instrumental version of the song in the beginning of the Big Idea production screen. Also, we get this song, Scuba, Scuba, Scooby-Dooby-Dooba, here we go, Scuba, come on, which is just hands down one of the fun songs of that video there. We do get the silly song in that one is His Cheeseburger, sung by Mr. Lunt. One of the few ones not sung by Larry. For most of them, these are silly songs with Larry, but this one was a silly song with Mr. Lunt. And it is a love ballad about a cheeseburger, and if you like cheeseburgers, you're going to like that song. Number 8. The Wonderful World of Autotainment. This one released in 2003 and is one of the few episodes that kind of veers off from the usual style of VeggieTales. It doesn't really follow a story per se. It does kind of have a light story of where Larry and Bob travel into the future of entertainment, and it's Autotainment, where everything is automated, and the hosts are robots. And of course, the robots would show up later in another show, 321 Penguins. But this was the first introduction to those robots, and it's kind of like they wanted to do a whole bunch of campfire type of songs or Sunday school songs, so they just put them all into this video here, and this is what we get. I mean, honestly, I really enjoyed it because this whole list is because of nostalgic sake. But it is the episode that introduced me to songs like Hole in the Bottom of the Sea and Modern Major General, before I even knew what Pirates of Penzance was. It does also include some other school songs like Zacchaeus and a couple others. And of course, I was enthralled with robots at this stage. So VeggieTales and robots, you could not find a happier child. Number 7. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. This was one of their later episodes, and it was also around the time I kind of was getting out of VeggieTales. I would have been just about to enter high school, so definitely was kind of done with VeggieTales. Hadn't really seen an episode in a while, but I have always and will always be a fan of The Wizard of Oz, and any movie or show that likes to parody it, for the most part, except for you. You get out of here. Shoot. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz was a great parody or homage to not only just the Wizard of Oz in general, but specifically the 1930s Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland and all those people. And it talks about the prodigal son, but in the form of VeggieTales. And the prodigal son, if you've never heard that story, it's about the story that in the Bible where son's like, I'm old enough, I want to go on my own. I want to go ahead, pay me my inheritance now, and you'll never see me again. And so the dad's like, okay, and gives his money. So the son goes off and just kind of uses the money until he is poor. So poor that he tries to get a job feeding like pigs, but he's so poor he can't even afford any food. So he eventually thinks, and even the slop that I'm feeding the pigs looks good. He goes back home to apologize for his father and says, hey, I will pay you back. You can have me. I will work for you for as long as I live to pay you back with my inheritance because I just wasted it. And instead, the dad forgives him and like throws a big banquet and is just happy he is home. So this is the mix that story with the Wizard of Oz, and that's how you get the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And the silly song for this one is called Monkey. And I still use this silly song to this day because it's one of the few educational silly songs. And for the most part, this is how I can remember ape from a monkey, because
if it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. If it doesn't have a tail, it's not a monkey. It's an ape.
Exactly. I know there's a few that is the rule, not the exception, not the rule kind of thing, but for the most part, that's how I learned about the difference between apes and monkeys. Number 6. Snoodle's Tale. This is another one where I like it more because of what it's paying homage to, not so much the episode in general. So this one does have 2 parts to it. The titular Snoodle's Tale, and then the other story is Dr. Jiggles and Mr. Sly. I'm not a fan of Dr. Jiggles and Mr. Sly. I really, even when I bought this, I only watched the first half. Not really even the silly song. Silly song's kind of forgettable. It's a sport utility vehicle. But Snoodle's Tale is a homage to Dr. Seuss. And it is one of the only videos where it involves characters that are not vegetables, or they're not supposed to be vegetables at least. It includes creatures that have hands, where if you don't know that in VeggieTales they don't have hands or arms or legs or anything, they're just vegetables. So the story is in the Snoodle land, everybody draws pictures of what they think. If they think you're they really like you, they'll draw a nice picture of you. But if they don't like you, they'll draw a bad picture of you. And so it just weighs him down so much that he just kind of is very unhappy. So he goes up to his mountain and basically talks to God. And God's like, well, let me paint a picture of how I see you. And it's very uplifting. And, we all can, feel that way where we just think that, oh, everybody thinks that we're this type of person. Or maybe we even try to focus on other people and we think, man, I wish I was like that person. When really we also have just so many things that we might not even be aware of that makes us us. And this kind of touches on that. Number 5, The Toy That Saved Christmas. So this one came out in 1996. And I believe this came out around the same time as Toy Story. So it was on that toys coming to life kind of hit that a lot of a good bit of 90s and early 2000s movies and made for TV movies were doing at the time. And so this one is about toy that is just the it toy for the Christmas year, and all the kids just have to have it. So you insert, for the time, I guess it would have been like the N64, the Game Boy Color, Furby. It's just basically, and nowadays I guess it'd be like PlayStation 5 or Furby, or really anything. That's just the must-have it toy of the summer, of Christmas, whatever. Basically, the toy gets a moral compass and decides, maybe I'm not the best thing to be advertising, especially because I'm dangerous, because I have a buzzsaw. It's just an overall good Christmas episode, and one of the few Christmas episodes. They would make later more Christmas episodes, but this is probably the best one to do. Number 4. God Wants Me to Forgive Them. This one is the second episode of VeggieTales, releasing in 1994. And this one just has some of the best songs in there. And it has 2 stories. So the first one is The Grapes of Wrath. It is not based on the Grapes of Wrath at all. It is its own thing. It's just, it has grapes, not vegetables, and they end up making fun of Junior Asparagus. He forgives them, and then they make fun of him again, and again and again. And so Junior keeps learning that he has to forgive no matter how many times somebody's wronged you. The only reason why it's number 4 is I feel like it's one of those kind of things where it's like, yeah, you should forgive, but in my honest opinion, you should forgive and maybe learn from him. Maybe not, if they're still, making fun of you, maybe not hang out with them. So the second part is Larry's Lagoon, which is a parody of Gilligan's Island. And it's about Bob and Larry, who are both basically supposed to be Gilligan. And because Larry daydreams, they get stuck on an island. And for a while, nobody forgives Larry. But eventually they all come around and forgive Larry, and they get off the island. And this includes this is one of the first times that it does include a little interlude, but it's not a silly song. It's a little kind of fake buy it now, made for TV, or as seen on TV bits that you saw a lot in the 90s with the Forgive-O-Matic, which was about an item that would say it would forgive you and then Junior Asparagus comes out and it's like, you don't need to have that. What's funny is, in this thing, he has somebody come out and say, as he's reading off a cue card, oh yeah, I love the Forgive-O-Matic, it's great. And this character is a potato. Also, this is the first time we ever see that potato, as far as I'm aware of. We never see the potato character again. And then, after he finds out you don't need the Forgive-O-Matic to be forgiven by God, he says you can use potatoes and it makes great fries. So, yeah, that's a bit disturbing. I don't think they meant to do that, but maybe a fun joke for the adults. Number 3, Are You My Neighbor? This is the 3rd episode in the VeggieTales series, releasing in 1995, and it also follows 2 little stories. The first story is the story of Flibber-a-Loo, which is again the earliest homage to Dr. Seuss, and is about 2 different cities that kind of live right across from each other. One is the land of Flibber-a-Loo, and the other one is Gibber-de-Lot. And is a story about the Good Samaritan, with Larry being the person that gets in trouble and Junior Asparagus being the Good Samaritan. And it has some of the best songs. I still sing to this day, I'm Busy.
'Cause we're busy, frightfully busy.
Love those songs. Then the second story is The Gourds Must Be Crazy, which is a parody of Star Trek. It is not going to be the first ever parody they ever do of Star Trek. Eventually they would do a whole episode on Star Trek, but this was the first one, and I love it. And when I was little, I did not understand why it was called the USS Apple Prize until much later in life. But I'm sure the adults had fun seeing all the jokes to the original Star Trek series. It is about Bob and Larry, who are, I guess, supposed to be Captain Kirk and Spock. Take Junior Asparagus because he's like the only person that might help them with this. The USS Apple Prize has no power, and a giant meteor that is a popcorn ball is coming after them. And so they don't know what to do because this popcorn ball is going to hit them and they're all going to perish. Until they meet two of the technicians, which is Jerry Gourd and Gary Gourd, and they love to eat. And then one of them says, I could eat a whole planet. And that gives them the idea to send them off to the popcorn ball, and they eat it. And then they come back and they're all celebrating and they get power back. And it ends with one of my favorite songs, which is I Can Be Your Friend. And if you have never heard that song, I definitely urge you to, after this video, go and look up that song. It's one of my favorites. Number 2, Rack, Shack, and Benny. This also came out in 1995 as the 4th episode ever released, and it is the first episode to ever have a full story to it. The 3 episodes prior to this did 2 stories with a silly song in between. This still does have a silly song, but it is one full story, and it's based off the story of Rat Shack, Meshack, and Bendigo. And of course, they shorten the names because I'm sure a lot of little kids could not pronounce those names. And it's kind of a parody of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, only Willy Wonka, played by Mr. Nezzer, is kind of just like a evil boss overlord, and he's like, hey. Yeah, he runs this chocolate factory and basically has children doing all the work for them. And part of the episode, he's like, I love the chocolate bunny so much that I want everybody to bow down to the chocolate bunny. And if you don't bow down, then I'm going to throw you into the furnace. I will have to say that this is probably one of the darker episodes of VeggieTales ever made, and I freaking love it because of that. So, Rack, Shack, and Benny do not bow down. And so they do get put into the furnace. Again, one of my favorite episodes. But they get, come out unscathed because Angel is protecting them. And Nezzer's like, you know what? All right, your God is stronger than a chocolate bunny. I'm not going to do that. And he stops being bad. But this has some of the best songs in there from the get-go. The Chocolate Factory song is awesome. And then we get into of course, the bunny song, which is the bad guy song, one of the few bad guy songs of a VeggieTales episode. And oh my goodness, this song was so dark they had to re-edit the song and re-release the video on VHS. So if you find one of the early copies, one of the lines is going to be, I don't want to go to school, I won't go to church, or I won't go to school, I won't go to church, or I won't go to church, I won't go to Sunday school, I just want to eat the bunny. Apparently, these started getting, letters from parents saying, I don't really like that line, can you change it? So they did, I believe they took out or re-edited that line, so it just says something else now. So I won't eat my food or something like that. Basically, they made it much lighter. But yeah, probably one of the few times VeggieTales got letters from parents saying it was too dark. This is amazing. And then the silly song for that is the Dance of the Cucumber. It is Larry speaking in Spanish, Bob interpreting, and Larry just the whole time dissing Bob, and it's hilarious. Number 1, where's God when I'm scared? And yes, I stuttered there because that is how it is spelled. Where's God when I'm scared? and it is the only horror episode of VeggieTales. And I'm surprised that they never did any other horror. I mean, there's a lot of horror, horror-centric stories in the Bible, but this is the only one that they ever, went all full Halloween-ish on this. And yeah, the first story is about Junior Asparagus watching a scary movie and then can't go to sleep because, watching a scary movie, which honestly is, for all the VeggieTales episode, this is the one that growing up I could relate to the most, because oh my goodness, there were so many movies I probably shouldn't have watched at certain ages, and I would be just like Junior Asparagus. But I did not have Bob and Larry coming down from thin air and telling me, hey, they're just actors, you don't have to be worried about it. I just had to learn my own way. But anyways, going back to VeggieTales, Bob and Larry do come down and be like, hey, why are you scared? Well, because I saw a scary movie. Oh, well, let's just bring in the actor, Frankencelery, and you'll not be scared anymore. So Frankencelery comes in, Junior's still scared, so Bob and Larry is like, hey, God's going to protect you, so you don't have to be worried. And the ever popular God is Bigger Than the Boogeyman song. And after that, Junior Asparagus goes to sleep. The second episode, Daniel and the Lion's Den, and it is about the story from the Bible of Daniel and the Lion's Den. So the king of Babylon wakes up one night from a nightmare, and all the wise men come in. They're like, yay, no, we can't interpret this dream for you, but there is somebody that can. That's Daniel. Daniel interprets the dream. Wise men get mad because now Daniel's their right hand, the king's right hand man. So the wise men try to think of a way to trick the king into killing Daniel. And the best idea they can come up with is, hey, we'll set this decree that nobody should, pray to any god except the king, because the king should be all powerful. And the king, being aloof that he is like, you know what, that makes sense. Writes a decree. Daniel doesn't care about it, still prays, gets thrown in the lion's den because that's what the decree says. But God protects him, and the lions don't bother him. King eventually sees that this was wrong, rescues Daniel. Daniel's fine, and then the end of the episode is them chasing down the three wise men. I love this episode because it has my favorite song.
Oh no, what we gonna do? The king likes Daniel more than me and you.
This one is a banger. It is my favorite VeggieTales song of all time. I have family videos of me at like 2-3 years old dancing to this song, and I still dance to this song because it's got a nice beat to it to this day, 30 years later. And the silly song in this is the Water Buffalo song, which is my favorite silly song to this day. And so that is going to be it for the top 10 VeggieTales episodes. Yeah, it's very nostalgic based, and I do probably have some rose-tinted glasses. I haven't seen every episode of VeggieTales because, as I said, it kind of got out of it around 2006, 2007. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch of episodes that I've never seen that might be better than the ones listed off here. But let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were. Which episodes did you grow up with? What were your favorites? What were your favorite silly songs? And who was your favorite character? Mine was Bob the Tomato because he had that sass. And until next time, just remember, God made you special and he loves you very much. Thank you. Have a good day.